Hello everybody, welcome back. Happy holidays. Hope you guys are having fun. Let's go ahead and get into our first Eternal Brews of, oh my goodness, the year. I've been out on holidays and then I had some sickness stuff to deal with, but we're back in action. We should be running pretty much as many brews as we can in the next couple of weeks or so. We're also going to be doing a lot of highlights, other stuff like that, so should be a great time. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about our latest brew, which is Eilyn's Honorguard. So this is a Justice Fire Primal setup. The basic idea behind it is that we are using a lot of value based around Quinn Lone Wanderer, which is one of my favorite cards of the new set. Like, in addition to being like a cool, like non-binary design. Like, this is someone who's like specifically designed to use they them pronouns and actually is a non-binary character, so just neat to have that kind of representation. But like, also, like, this is a 7/7 for 6 with summon, draw a card, all things that I really like on a card in pretty good colors as well. So I think that Quinn Lone Wanderer is a card that you are reasonably assured of wanting to play even if you don't have a lot of renown cards in your deck. Like, if you have like 4 to 6 renown cards, that is enough, and that's the basic concept behind what we're trying to do here with Quinn. So Quinn, when you summon, draws a card, and whenever one of your units becomes renowned, you draw Quinn from your void. Now, if Quinn gets killed or polymorphed or in some way like voidbound, there are lots of ways that doesn't actually give you a lot of value, but regardless, the card is a 7/7 for 6, which is super stat efficient. It's actually bigger than a Heart of the Vault and at a similar amount of influence requirements. In fact, it's actually probably a little easier to cast than Heart of the Vault as long as you are playing the 3 colors that Quinn requires. So what we are doing with them is we are specifically trying to basically play this card for the extra card draw value, and then we have about 8 to 10 different cards that can renown back to help out Quinn and get them back on board. Hojan, Crownbreaker, is our early starter. This card is more of an aggro card for a lot of different reasons, but the Empower ability does get you extra power, so whenever he is empowered, we get to get that extra lifesteal and have some fun. Like, this card is basically just really good at keeping you alive long enough to play into your big value stuff, and the Renown ability of playing a Justice Sigil from your deck depleted is extremely powerful in terms of ramping us up to other big stuff. Chunk is a pledge card that happens to stun an enemy unit when it comes out, and also has a Renown ability, which we can use to play back Quinn later on in the game. I found this card to be pretty decent at holding down the fort. The ability to renown and play a snow fort can be really beneficial. You'll often find yourself even like torching or signal flaring chunk to get a snow fort if you absolutely need it. I've actually used this on several occasions to perform some interesting combat tricks. The card is really fun to play, and the ability to pledge for fire or primal is really important for fixing our power and making sure that we're always getting the right influence, since Quinn requires so many different colors of influence, and since we have so many different colors of influence at the top. Finally, we have Aniyah, Arctic Sheriff, a card that I have been spitballing between 2 and 3. You can definitely run 2 of in the deck if you want to keep the legendary count a little bit lower. This card is green or blue fixing, and then the Summon Stun ability is a little bit more powerful, as is the Renown ability. The +2/+2 in Aegis is really quite fun. Keep in mind that you can torch Aniyah if Aniyah is being targeted by a removal spell to give it Aegis and protect it from whatever the removal spell is. The torch will deal the damage. The Aniyah will get the +2/+2 in Aegis. The torch will deal the damage without popping the Aegis because it's your spell, and then the removal card will hit Aniyah and pop the Aegis, and you'll be left with a 6/5 Aniyah with 3 damage on it for your opponent to maybe torch, but most likely not be able to deal with. So that's something important about this card. Like, being able to actually do something to this at fast speed tends to be pretty good. So we're definitely pretty happy with that result, and yeah, Aniyah's a lot of fun here. You can run Savagery in this deck. I actually don't have any copies of that right now, but we currently are using, as our renown triggers, Display of Honor, the +4/+4 and Lifesteal, which also transforms enemy units into goats. Very handy, of course, in 3 colors. The flexibility is really strong. We sometimes use Linebreaker shields as weapons, so we occasionally have something in our deck to pull out as our modular ability, but this is also just a pretty good renown trigger that draws some cards and gets some life, and all of that value is pretty important to us. If we can use this on a permafrosted unit and get the shield bash, it's like a 4 for 1, so it's nice to have one 1 to 2 of them in the deck, and actually I've just found this to be pretty useful as far as what we've been playing. We also have Signal Flare, which we occasionally use to target our own units with Renown. This can damage a Hojan and trigger the Renown without killing it, which is pretty handy. And yeah, like likewise, you can't like torch a Hojan to get a Justice Sigil, so that's something that's relatively important. We're also running Howling Peak Smugglers, so that kind of extra spell damage combined with Signal Flare gives us options to destroy a lot of different sites and get into like some pretty nasty stuff. Torches are pretty good for torching Chunk Chunk or Aniyah, as well as for torching our opposing things. Basically every spell in this deck is pretty multi-purpose. We have a lot of different stuff, and yeah, it's pretty delightful. There's a lot of interesting things that we can do. Okay, so that's one part of our sort of two-part theme. The other value theme that we are running with is Aylin Clanmother and Caleb, the Caleb Reborn. So we have Howling Peak in this deck. Howling Peak, if you did not know, is one of the more powerful sites in the current set. It's been very, very good so far. It's been showing like a decent amount of representation in tournaments. It's doing a lot of powerful things. They actually nerfed merchants a little bit in Skycrag colors to help deal with that, but like also to make it more so that people will use smugglers a little bit more. We'll talk about that in a future video. But basically, yeah, Howling Peak is probably the best site out there right now. At 6, it just does an awful lot. It usually kills a unit when it comes down, or it creates a copy of a unit on board. So either way, if you play this card, it immediately transitions into some form of board advantage. And then with 3 interesting agenda cards that are actually pretty beneficial, and all of which effectively draw you a card, you also get Caleb at the top. So for a 6 cost, you can draw as many as 4 cards by in some way influencing the board and drawing power to fix and popping Aegises and doing all of the things that you really, really want to do. In addition, Mirror Image off of Howling Peak procs Renown, and also allows you to copy up more copies of Quinn Lone Wanderer if you are trying to play the very, very long value game with a lot of extra card draw and a lot of extra, fun stuff. So yeah, this card is just extremely handy and gets us Caleb. And then we also have Aylin Clanmother, our 6/7 that silences 2 enemy units with the giant ultimate that destroys basically everything on the board. I found this to be just a really, really powerful card against a lot of different things. We had some really, really good rounds with this card so far, and we're going to show you some cool ones. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun to play with it, and as far as Aylin goes, really, really loving it. Aylin the Rising Storm is just a 1-of in this deck. I don't have multiple copies of her yet, and I also am not entirely certain that I want them. Dealing 6 damage to an enemy is pretty useful, and as an 8-drop, this card is pretty powerful in its own right, but you do have to do a little bit of work with Aylin, so this is more of like a 1-of, like a little bit of a fun of, to add an extra Aylin into the deck. And with 5 Aylins in the deck and 4 Calebs, we get access to Enemy of My Enemy as a 2-of. Now, Enemy of My Enemy is a little bit better in the current set. There's much better paladins. You can pick up cards like Hojan. You can pick up some pretty disgusting paladins. There's better dragons as well, and better warriors. There's a lot of different interesting cards that you can pick up. I'd say about 1 to 2 of each of the new paladins, dragons, and warriors are actually powerful enough to make Enemy of My Enemy feel pretty strong. And as a promo, I kind of suspect that this card was basically something that was actually in this set and was sort of pushed out as a promo card to sort of tease the new set, but also something that is like actually much better in this set than it was in the previous set. I found the card advantage from this card to be pretty good. Generally, it gets a good warrior, paladin, or dragon, maybe 2, and then after that you get like a couple of extra interesting chaff cards to play with as well. So lots and lots of card draw out of it. Can cost 4 if you have an Aylin. And with Howling Peak giving you Caleb, you can actually make it cost 0 without too much difficulty. We tried it at 3, we tried it at 4, and we tried it at 2, and I've been happy playing it, but generally I found that you want about 2 of them in the deck because you already have a lot of high end in the deck and don't need too many more ways to draw cards. But this card seems pretty strong and actually has a lot of fun things to do. Thus, we have like a really nice Aylin Caleb theme deck with Quinn colors and just the general Ixtun flair all the way around. We're not currently using Ixtun Contraband, but we might play around with it a little bit more in the future. I would say that overall right now, like our power just pretty much always needs to fix for quite a few different things, and we're currently fixing for triple Primal pretty frequently, so Ixtun is maybe not quite what we're looking for here, but we are running 4 petitions to make sure that we grab all of our different crests. We're running some tokens of honor to generate a little bit of extra fixing in particular colors or powers that we need. And we're running the Justice and Fire and Primal Sigils, of course, just to have undepleted power to play out some of our cards on time in the correct order. So yeah, I'd say you could maybe up the Token of Honor by 1, cut a Justice Sigil by 1, but I'm not sure about that, and I'm not going to mess with the power base with our current design. I'm actually pretty happy with it so far. Finally, right in the middle, we have Whirling Duo to gain us a little life, keep us defended while we get to these big units, and Howling Peak Smuggler, which deals extra damage with spells like our torches and signal flares, and can also summon out some hailstorms or mortars, as well as Vision of Austerity and Krill to deal interesting damage to like relic focused decks and mess up those decks a whole bunch. It's a lot of fun. I've generally just had a very, very good time with this list. It's the exact kind of greedy delightfulness that we like, but it's in much different colors, and we're playing with much different types of styles. One other card that I forgot to mention is Burn Them All. I like this card quite a bit as an answer to Howling Peak, and we often run 2 of them, depending on how it is that we're feeling. Aylin and Burn Them All are both good options to get rid of Howling Peaks when Howling Peaks come down, so it's important to have a couple of those options in the deck, and I would recommend that you keep some number of these, at least 2 to 3, just so that you can deal with Howling Peak when you're in the Howling Peak meta. Alright, that's it. That's everything on the list, so let's go ahead and play a couple of games with it. I'm really excited to show this one off, and yeah, here we go, guys. See you in just a moment. A lot of playable power. We will be able to play Chunk off of this list, and I've also got the Signal Flare to start. So I'm kind of tempted to keep this. I would say that it's not a great hand, particularly because I'm not 100% certain that I'm going to be playing both the Chunks, but I kind of like it. I think we're going to go ahead and run it. I'm thinking about pledging Chunk here, and that's the other decision we got to make, but we'll make that decision. I would say take our time with it, but I'm pretty sure that we're just going to pledge Chunk so that we can get that power going. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and pledge Chunk, and yeah, we'll pledge for a fire. I can now Signal Flare to scout if I really need to find power, but I think at this point we just have enough power. All we need to do now is Crest and make sure that we don't draw power so that we draw other things that we can cast and things that we can actually do some damage with. Quinn the Lone Wanderer is here, so they're going to be pretty useful for us. Let's go ahead and play Crest of Glory here. And then, yeah, I'd say Aylin Clan Mother sounds like a pretty good one. I've got Signal Flare as well, so if I see something I don't like, I can always Signal Flare on that turn so that I can basically scout twice, but I would prefer to hold this to deal damage to anything that might scare me or do something scary to me. Petition here, yeah, that's extra power, and I actually do need extra power at this point because we now have a 6 and a 7 to play too. So feels pretty comfy. Go ahead and grab like a Huru something. And what do you know? We found a use for that Signal Flare, so let's go ahead and do that. Aniyah Arctic Sheriff is actually great here. I'm super down with it. A 5-drop seems really, really useful. So we're going to go ahead and Petition here. Grab ourselves a Crest of Order. And rather than play that Crest, I'm going to play the Token of Honor here since I can Crest next turn and then dig for better cards. The one problem with that is that I won't be able to play Aniyah, but I'll be able to play Chunk or possibly, yeah, I think we're still pretty happy with this result. So Stun the Highland Sharpshooter. Hopefully it doesn't get a Deep Forge Plate and completely mess me up. I would really like that Torch. I think I'd actually like to Torch this and then stun something else, because if there is a Deep Forge Plate or something, I don't want to deal with it on the Highland Sharpshooter, but we'll see. Okay, cool. So yeah, we now see that there is a Red Canyon Smuggler, and I'm so very not down with that. Let's go ahead and Torch that. We're going to Aniyah Arctic Sheriff to lock this down for good. And attack for 4. Now if Aniyah dies, then the Highland Sharpshooter can swing in and actually get some value, but right now I'm feeling pretty comfy with our current setup. We've actually delayed the aggro enough that we're not in any trouble. The aggro had some trouble setting up, so it's not a big deal either way, but with the Urn of Choking Embers as the next card out, are we going to see a Renown? Is it going to be Warhelm? Maybe a Finest Hour? Get a 6/5? Nope, just swinging. Okay, so if I get undepleted power, that's good, or I can just Torch it. And that gives us a 4/3. Quinn Lone Wanderer is next, although I'd like to play Aylin as well. And yeah, feeling pretty comfy. We're definitely getting our value. We're not taking a lot of damage, which is also important when playing Control. And yeah, I'd say that overall things look pretty good. So I can either draw and then Crest, or Crest and then draw. Since I'm not looking for any card in particular, it's generally better to draw and then Crest. So just pick up something. We got a Howling Peak, which is great. And then Crest here. Don't really need another Fire Sigil at this point. We're already completely flush on power. The huge amount of Crests in this 3-color deck is like really, really relevant because it allows us to just do a lot more. Howling Peak actually cannot gun down Rakano Outlaw because Rakano Outlaw has Quick Draw, so I can't kill this until I get rid of the Quick Draw, which means I'm going to have to play Aylin on it, which totally fine by me. So I've now got a 4-cost enemy of my enemy, which is pretty good. Howling Peak can gun down the 6/2, or I can just block with Quinn, and if there's some sort of trick, then we'll still probably trade, and then Quinn will be something that I can pick up later with like a Hojan or some other card. Alright, go ahead and go on in on the attack. And for the Vanquish there on the Aylin, and yeah, we're going to have to trade Quinn or take 8 damage, which I'm not going to do. Now, Howling Peak here would be kind of interesting. I could get a Caleb's Favor. I would not be able to mirror image, which I think would be a little bit too rough. Let's go ahead and Petition, and I'm going to grab Crest of Glory, and that way I get to search for something useful to play into next time around. Second Howling Peak is interesting. I don't know how I feel about that one. I would say that it's pretty good. Like, it's definitely not a bad idea, but I kind of want units more. Nah, we should take gas. We'll take any gas that we can get, even if it's Howling Peak. I've got enemy my enemy, so we feel pretty comfy there. Navani Warsinger is going to die, so that'll be pretty easy to do. Go ahead and gun it down. And that's Navani gone, so we're still very much in control. Lots and lots of good things happening. Enemy my enemy plays next. Dislike Red Canyon Smuggler so much. I think we're going to go ahead and play the next Howling Peak here, unless whatever they got is actually going to be useful. Caleb's Favor.
Who says you can't play with fire?
Yeah, I think we just got to play the second Howling Peak. Gun that down. And then play a Whirling Duo to get something in front. So we'll see what Sevek picked up. My guess is Deep Forge Plate, which fortunately is not going to kill us here.
Never stop. Never.
Okay, Hojan Crownbreaker's rough. Hungry Enforcer's pretty rough too. Here I'm definitely inclined to Mirror Image. Even though it gets me like a silenced thingy-majog, but overall, not too bad. Hey, we just got a sub. Go ahead and play Enemy of My Enemy.
You don't want to make me your enemy.
Got a couple of reasonable cards there. Champion of Fury is actually active, which is hilarious, but doesn't have charge because of the Urn of Choking Embers, so we're gonna just be denied that for a little bit. Still, Steelbound Dragon's a pretty good pickup. Order of the Spire does not feel bad. I'd say I'm pretty comfy with this setup. Okay, so I would expect a Deep Forge Plate on that Valkyrie. Let's find out. Okay, 4-3. Got the Torch, so probably going to swing both at Howling Peak. That's the other nice thing about sites, is that they defend your life total from pretty scary boards. Right now I'm feeling like Steelbound Dragon and Order of the Spire are both pretty good here. Let's go ahead and go with the Steelbound Dragon. Play the Petition and grab a Crest. Try to dig up something that we can actually play with. Signal Flare kills Hojan. Really down with killing Hojan. 3-3 here is a little scary. There's got to be a weapon or something. I think I'm going to go ahead and try and find something a little bit better. Because Hojan is not my biggest threat right now. It's the Valkyrie with the Deep Forge Plate on it. That's my biggest threat. Okay, so there comes an 8-8. And we have nothing to say to that but ouch. Found a Torch, that's good.
Awaiting your command.
So now I can block the 8-8 and then torch it. Should be pretty handy. Still looking for Renowns. And that looks perfectly reasonable because... Okay, that's fine. Alright, and torch this. So we're back in control, but
Never stop.
Urn of Choking Embers is making things a little bit slow and difficult. I don't want to attack here because Hojan's just too scary a threat. I'm really worried about Inquisitor's Blade, more of those like smugglers. There are certainly some possible options that could hurt us here. I'd say this block looks fine. Since Hojan can only deal 4, it would be correct to double block there, but looks like my opponent's out of gas and not going to try and dig for more, so we're good to go, and yeah, that went pretty well. Alright, here we are up against Catacroker. Opening hand looks pretty good. I'd say the Signal Flare is pretty strong. Overall, the power it's all depleted, so that's a bit of an issue, but we've got some decent setup, and overall looks like we can play, you know, at least a 3-drop and a 1-drop, and get ourselves into a decent position to set up for Quinn. We've already got all of the influence we need for Quinn, so they're gonna be pretty good when they come down, and everything else looks solid. So let's just play the Crest of Glory to start. And then we'll just dig and dig and dig and see if we can find some better stuff. Display of Honor's nice. It's got some renown to it. It can remove certain threats from the board. It's not my personal favorite card in this list, but I would say that it's definitely going to help us out. Catacroker. Playing Genève Cargo. So what's in Genève right now? Red, blue, yellow decks. I don't know if there's any particular list out there that I'm supposed to be worried about, so probably won't worry too much about it. We'll see what ends up happening, but I've got Display of Honor, I've got the Signal Flare, I can kill most big things for a little bit. The one thing I would worry about is probably a lot of Aegis units, because we don't have great answers to Aegis units at the moment, but we got plenty of good options, so. Okay, so in this case, since I have the Token of Honor as a depleted sigil, I can play the Signal Flare first. See if the card I like is on top. Linebreaker Shield, I'm probably down. And then, since I want to keep that card, I'm going to play the token here, and not the Crest of Fury, because that way I don't have to scout the card twice, and I can, you know, figure things out that way. So we'll just play the Whirling Duo next turn. If the Whirling Duo gets permafrosted, we'll have a nice Linebreaker Shield for it, which should be pretty fun. And yeah, hopefully we'll get some good results out of that. Alright, Crest of Fury. Dig a little deeper. Found a Primal Sigil. That's definitely not bad. That's power 6 for us. Attack for 3 here. Might get torched. Kind of looking pretty likely that it'll get torched. Opponent has 4 power open, so it seems like something's going to happen here. Didn't get torched, so that's good. Alright, yeah, no. Catacroker, what are we up to? Found a Time Sigil. Moonstone Vanguard. Well, that's a perfectly worthy target for a stun, but it's got endurance, so I'm going to have to turn it into a goat instead. Since it draws a card if it actually attacks, I'm going to just boop,
Trust in your allies.
knock that out, and then we can play Quinn next turn. Okay, so Quinn will draw us a card. The 5/5 will not draw them cards, so that's good. Always nice to have some sort of removal there. I do not like getting hit by goats, but we're not in any major threats, and yeah, it's Heart of the Vault versus Quinn. Quinn's a little bit bigger! Okay, so go ahead and play our Primal here.
I'll forge my own path.
Quinn jumps up. Now, one thing is I kind of want to Display of Honor as many of these Sentinels as I can, because this is clearly an Explorer Sentinel deck, which means it's going to be running Stirring Sands, a card that basically allows him to recover any sort of Sentinels that he wants as long as he exhausts his own cards. So in some situations here, I'm going to be trying to play Display of Honor as much as possible. Quinn got hit there, not great. Time Worn Sentinel needs an Explorer ally to draw a card, which I do have Explorers in this deck, so that might be something that we do. Yeah, let's go ahead and lead with this, because I need to draw the cards here. Found an Aylin, lovely. I wouldn't mind extra power here. I also don't think Enemy My Enemy is all that bad. Let's go ahead and go with that. So we get a 5/5 to swing with. And the longer we lock down his Sentinels without killing them, the more difficult it is going to be. Like, it's just going to be very, very hard to deal with that without, like, stirring sand repeatedly, that kind of stuff. Okay, that might lead into a torch. I'm not super excited about that. Yep, not a lot of fun. Okay, so that's okay, though.
It's written right here.
Temple Scribe, certainly not the Not the nicest card. I think here it's definitely just Aylin Clanmother.
The throne is mine by right.
Silence both of those. That unstuns the Heart of the Vault, but it was going to unstun anyways, so we're not in any particular hurry there. Now that that's silenced, it can't get that extra damage and card draw when it comes back from Stirring Sands, which is pretty critical to my current plan. I can't ultimate Aylin next turn, so it's safe to block the 6/6, even though there's probably another Heart of the Vault coming down. Like, I would say that it's really not a bad idea to just try to keep the Heart of the Vaults a little bit under control. So yeah, let's go ahead and do this block. Maybe there's a Torch, maybe there's a Heart of the Vault. Either way, like, we have another island to play, we're not that worried about it. I'd like to cast Enemy of My Enemy, but I'm not that in need at the moment. Mostly what I need right now is to not die, and I think we're doing an okay job of that. Okay. So, second Aylin can silence the Goat and the Temple Scribe. Enemy of My Enemy does not play here. I'd like to get my Quinn back, but my Quinn is equivocated, so that's not going anywhere. 5, 6, 7. Aniyah Arctic Sheriff unfortunately can die to Torch, and that's a little bit worrying. I'm not sure which I like better. We haven't seen a Torch yet. We saw it burn them all. That's a close one. I'll say I like Aylin here. Silence a 6/6, just, I mean, it's already silenced, but that feels good, because now I get to keep Enemy My Enemy as a possibility, and I can blow everything up on board if I get to 8. The other thing is that if I draw power for Aniyah, I can play Aniyah and then Display of Honor Aniyah to not bring back Quinn, but at least to sort of keep Aniyah alive in a situation where Aniyah would otherwise be dead, and then the thing that she locked down would be attacking me. I think it's better to save Aniyah for when I can protect them. Okay, Zoe of the Endless Horde, that card's pretty scary. A lot of potential things that can happen there. Let's see here. So Aniyah can lock them down. I think it's better to just turn it into a goat right now. Yeah, so let's go Enemy of My Enemy. We'll see what we draw. A Hojan, not bad. And a Curiox, ooh, that's really good. Okay, so get a Primal here. Attack for 6. And now we have a goat.
Trust in your allies.
Alright, opponent's got a lot of goats. I'm at 8, so Aylin can blow everything up on board at the moment, including, like, Heart of the Vaults, anything scary. I would say that if the attack happens here, I'm okay to block, like, a Temple Scribe or a goat, but not anything else. We don't want to block anything that, like, we could actually get hurt by. Okay. The other question here is there a way to win the game? We have to look pretty carefully, because there's +2 here. There's +2 here, but I can't play those two together. Quinn draws cards. The Aniyah Arctic Sheriff locks down most of the board. I'd say it's 100% safe to just blow everything up with Aylin. So that's what we're going to do.
No more traitors.
That has endurance, so it doesn't get hit by Aylin. So now we have to basically, like, deal with a 5/5 that draws cards, but I'm not even going to block it, so I think we're probably fine. Life should be pretty good here. It's a shame that Linebreaker's shield can't lock down the endurance unit, but I think we're all good there. Okay, so that was a pretty good one. The last one we're going to show off is from our stream, since I accidentally recorded a game by streaming it instead of recording it anyways. So yeah, but also, like, the last game of our stream tonight with this deck was really, really fun. So we're going to show that one off of as our last one. So here we go. Let's have some fun. Please don't answer it yet. All right, this is only 2 power. It does have Hojans in it. But no way to trigger the Hojans. I'm on the draw. I'm pretty close to playing Aniyah with my Hojans. But I have no fire. I think this is way too weak. Yeah, let's redraw it. Okay. The fact that that hand was considerable is definitely a testament to the strength of Pledge, but... Alright, get a little fire in here. The other card we still want in here is Savagery, right? Like, I'd actually really like to have a Savagery. Opposed to a Righteous Fury, perhaps? Crest of Fury or Crest of Order here? Crest of Order, because that makes Aylin better, although it doesn't really matter.
Let's dance.
Okay. Crest of Order, Crest of Glory. Can't do much with that. Should have played the Fire Crest because it would have given me the ability to play Burn Them All. But you win some, you lose some. Alright. And now I'm looking for those display of visions pretty desperately. Ugh, this is gross. Yeah, Quinn? Could block with the 3/3 here. I'm getting the impression that that card might still be good somewhere.
A customer.
Oh, what could that be?
I'll forge my own path.
Signal Flare is a little bit helpful, yeah.
Your power flows through me.
Ooh, that's actually pretty scary, yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I can definitely see why you're drawing the cards. Tempting to leave the 3/3 behind.
The throne is mine by right.
Silence both of those guys.
Now you shall witness true power.
That's fine. We can beat Asendel. I'm just worried about all the meat he's got. It's not great. There's a second Asendel, we're probably just dead in the water.
A customer.
That's a second Asendel.
The throne is mine by right.
Don't hate more Quinns. Yeah, we'll do that. Here's 6 in the air. Burn them all kills a couple of interesting threats.
Now it's my turn.
Yeah, nothing we can do about Vara. Just gotta roll with it.
Now you shall witness true power.
Seems reasonable. Maybe I should have let him hit me, actually. No, because we want to use the gun down on something, right? Yeah, gun down one of these unblockable units. Aylin cannot explode the 7/7. Oh, I could have gunned down Asendel.
The throne is mine by right.
Okay, we're still ahead. Except we're behind. But hey, who's counting anyways? God!
Now you shall witness true power.
Get off my lawn, Asendel. Okay, is it all at the thing? At my face. So, block there. Block there. Yeah, I mean, just take the blocks we can. I didn't silence the Helici. Okay. Wait, Caleb's still up, so we have a way out, right? Yeah, gun down this. Oh, jeez. Six in the air. Beat 3 Asendels. Oh, yeah, this deck is good. Like, if we can beat 3 Asendels on curve after Titan, World Bearer, yeah. No. I'm happy. This is where the deck needs to be. We had the right cards, we played the right cards in the right order. Like, we outvalued Asendel. Or rather, we outraced it. Alright, that's it for today. This is a slightly more legendary light version of the deck, revolving around playing a few more early game cards, a couple of cards like Softfoot Burglar to draw and get some more value out of it, playing a little bit less Aylin and a little bit less of some of the other cards in favor of still keeping Quinns and Howling Peaks. This deck is very legendary heavy, so like regardless of which build, it should be a little bit expensive, but many of these cards are actually really, really good. Like Howling Peak and Quinn are both, I think, very, very reasonable plays that will serve you pretty well in any sort of legendary lists that you want to run, and I really think that Aylin Clanmother is something that should be crafted at least 2 of for some of the more interesting decks out there. Like Aylin is just a delightful Hooroo topper. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back with more Eternal Brews very, very soon, as well as some basics and many other fun things. See you then, and thank you again. Bye everyone. Cheers.